But anyway, my whole point is you're working with what seems to be a really level-headed, cool guy who changed music.
No doubt about it. I mean, there's no sort of equivalent in popular music that I can think of. A guy who was a writer, producer, arranger, player of many instruments, lead singer like Insane, and executive.
Oh, right.
Other
Yes.
things I probably am forgetting right now. I mean, the only parallel I can think of would be someone like Willie Dixon, who was, the guy who wrote I Ain't Superstitious and
Yes.
and who was a bass player as well, producer, writer, an artist, and he was and an executive. He was all those things as well.
What do you take from people like Paul and Etta? What do you learn and assimilate from them and apply into your own life and your career, maybe even more importantly? How does working with them affect your own life and your own artistry?
Well, I mean, Paul has been such an incredible influence on me. And also just having a sort of a steady job like that, I never call it a gig.
Yeah.
Because it's more like, I don't know, it was like a life path more than it's a gig. But anyway, that job that I have with him, being consistent like that gave me sort of the wherewithal to say, okay, I've always loved writing a bit, singing a bit, and arranging and recording, but always on a smaller level, like, my 4-track cassette or a demo at some guy's studio time when it was like midnight or whatever. But now, I had enough to make a bro deal at a studio and call in Abe or Matt Logg and, Paul Bushnell and these different guys, Scott Schreiner, and have them come and play with me in a real studio with a real engineer. And being around Paul also was such a great influence because you can't help but sort of absorb and internalize some of his ideas, know? Like if you're in a band and you're pulling apart these songs and now you're now performing some element of that song, whether it's guitar, bass, or vocals, you're kind of learning there's kind of a madness to his method. So it can't help but influence you. And so it was a great influence, and it gave me enough of a little bit of money to go and record my first album in 2005, Mondo Magneto, with Abe and Scott Schreiner and all those guys I mentioned, and then another one in 2009. So it gave me a lot, and it inspired me so much, and it meant a lot when he pulled me aside on a flight to a show once and said, "Brian, I checked out your album, man. It's really good." And he started going into rhymes and drum sounds, and it was just like,
wait a minute.
Can I go and record what you do? Can you do that again?
Yeah. And, this would be great promotion. Hold on 1 second. Camera crew. Yeah.
Right. And so super, super inspiring and super grateful. And interestingly enough, Etta inspired me in different ways because she was just such a strong, indomitable spirit. She had survived so much in her own personal life from heroin addiction and stuff. So that was more like, call upon the warriors within, and, you're never, a cold isn't going to stop you from doing a show. It's not going to hurt your singing. Come on, like just a sort of, guts.
Yeah.
Guts,
Got it.
So maybe that helped me there. And I would also say that Etta helped me so much because I was on stage with her at a very young age and got to love it and be comfortable with it. So that when it was time to play with Paul McCartney, although I had never played with Paul McCartney, I had played with some big names on big stages under duress. So you get sort of, tried by fire,
So you've been on the road most of your adult life. Just in case you don't know, Music on the Run is not only a music-based program, but it's also talking about how you manage your life when you're out there, because it's as cool as it seems, the luster wears off, man, at a certain point in time. Do you like being on the road?
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, I am in sort of rare air to be able to play with Paul at that level, at
That's
Paul
true.
touring. So I'll admit that sort of helps, going on tour and playing 6 nights a week in a van
Right.
is another experience. And we've been fortunate enough with Paul that that's not our scenario.
Right.
So maybe that is another thing that can answer the question, how do you stay together for 19 years? Well,
yeah,
but in a way that doesn't burn you out quite as bad. And then also Paul's mood on the road and the way he carries himself is just so cool and light, and he's fun and he's funny and he's interesting, and you're just always up for it. He's never rolling his eyes. He's never a jaded second. He never acts like, oh God, here comes Hey Jude again. He's not that guy. He's just sort of all light energy and always grateful that he's Paul McCartney. It's remarkable. So that helps.